What's going on, y'all? What's going on? I am here today to honor someone who meant a lot to the local community and who meant a lot to me. So today's broadcast, we're not going to talk about following the show. Um, Give me a second. We're not gonna we're, we're not gonna spend today, you know, talking about followers and subscribers and all that. We're not going to do none of that. I'm not going to be here for a long time. This is going to be a short pod because I'm not even supposed to be here today. I got something else to do, but I figured I'd come here early because this is more than worth it. For uh, those of you who follow this program, who follow me, you know that I got my start as a man on the street for the Scott and BR show. Now, to be 1000% honest with you, before I started working at the radio station, I had no idea who Scott and BR were. I went to that station with full intent of me, you know, the the ego of me, being on the radio. And because of that, I ended up give me one more second. I ended up, you know, meeting Scott and BR. The the first time, you know, and before I get into anything about either of those dudes, but more specifically about Billy Ray, my personal life has been surrounded with a lot of people passing, and to get through that, I am a celebrator of life. I am not a mourner. I do not sulk about people who have passed, even though I understand that emotion needs to be expressed and it needs to be released. I am not a person who mourns. I'm a person who celebrates the life of. And Billy Ray Smith is a person whose life who needs to be celebrated. When a person touches as many people as he did, it is perfectly acceptable to mourn his loss, but also understand he did what he did with his life is what we should all strive to do with our life. And that is reach as many people as you can in the most positive manner as you possibly can. Billy Ray was an amazing ambassador for football. He was an amazing ambassador for the Chargers organization. But more importantly, he was a great person. Like a lot of, and you hear that term thrown around. He was a great person. He'd break your hand if you shuck it, right? Like any adult person and young teen who shook his hand, you knew, you knew this guy's got stroke hands. Ah. But that was part of the larger than life personality that he had. You didn't have to know him more than that handshake for him to make you feel like he actually didn't know you. And that was my experience with him. And that was almost every other person I've ever encountered experience with him. You felt like you knew him the second you shook his hand. Because he was a great guy. I had the fortunate pleasure of working closely with him. At the end of the days of 1090, I helped him with his podcast that he was doing when he was interviewing former players and talking about portions of his career, whether it be through football or whether it be through radio. Me and Nick Kinnicky, shout out to Nick Kinnicky. Both Nick started, I finished. I think he did a couple of episodes after him and I discontinued. But what he meant to people outside of football is the impact he made locally here as a co-host on the Mighty 1090. Because that's how I met him. I didn't meet Billy Ray, the football player. Because that's why he was more than that to me. I met Billy Ray, the person. I didn't meet Billy Ray, the radio personality. I didn't meet Billy Ray, the local celebrity. I met Billy Ray, the person. And that in itself was the joy. That in itself is what, brought a smile to everyone's face. Billy Ray, the person. You might have known him because of football. You might have known him because of his time at 1090, but the person is who you remembered. Anyone locally who had an interaction with him, that's what you walked away with, knowing Billy Ray, the person. So, like I have some pictures to share, and just looking at these pictures, like this picture right here. Now, this is literally the first picture I ever took with these guys, and it's interesting that I have this. So this is my first real man on the street situation. I can't remember. I know what this is. So this is during the Major League Baseball All-Star game, and we were doing a live show. I think it was Whiskey Girl at the time, and ESPN had all their day parts there. Ryan Russillo, Scott Van Pelt, they had most of their day parts there, and then in the afternoon we come in. Now, this is my first real taste of man on the street type working for the show and going out and talking to people and doing the bit. And in true Billy Ray fashion, he showed up dressed the part, big smile, big handshake, briefcase in hand, ready to get to work. This was literally this was my first working interaction with him. And it was awesome. It was awesome, man. I can't tell you how much fun I had working with him. Whether it was playing basketball against him when we had the Big Boys Toy Show, 1090, basketball game that got organized where it was Billy Ray picked the team and Scott picked the team, and Billy Ray tackled me out of bounds. Like some of the memories and some of the fun that I had getting involved with these two dudes will always, stick with me as positive and healthy memories, professional memories that a person could have. Again, what caused him to pass, for those who don't know, is he had throughout his time in football, whether it be at Arkansas or whether it be for the Chargers or high school, when you play football, you build up a lot of hits. And what he did was hit. My man hit as a football player, well known for the hitting. So he obviously had developed a CTE and a case of dementia, and that's what cost him his life. But he would have been the first person to tell you that he wouldn't change anything because what football gave him. When I would have conversations with him about him, you know, remembering things from the past and talking about his father, who was a professional football player, and talking about his time in Arkansas, and when he was some of his sharpest memories. One of the things that always stuck out when I would talk to him, pre-podcast, during podcast, post-podcast, he would say to me, "I wouldn't change anything. What football has given me, I, you know, what football had given his family, the life he was able to create as a football player was something that he always loved and cherished." And so as he began to, you know, uh, transition out of the radio portion of what he had done post his career, I was happy for him. I was happy for him. He understood what he did, and he gave everything he had. And that's all we have in life is the opportunity to give everything we had in the direction of something that we love. And this man loved his family, he loved his wife, he loved his daughter, he loved football, and he loved people. He 1000% loved people. Everywhere he would shake a hand, everywhere. Even at the end, he still had the smile. He still had the handshake. He still gave you this larger than life feeling of meeting him and feeling like this guy's my friend. He could do that to you. He could do that to you. And that's how I will remember him. That's how I will remember him. We are all saddened by his loss. We all lost something. The city lost a big person. But again, I am a celebrator of life. I do not believe, me personally, in mourning loss. I believe in celebrating the life and the times that you had with the person. And I got some more pictures, but I thought that for me personally, this picture was important for me to start with because this was the beginning of what would become a you know a 7-year run and what we call it, a 5-year friendship. This is where it began. This right here is where it began. So as we continue to, this is Steve Fisher. Those are the Bensons, a major contributor to the Great Friends. This was of all the pictures that I received, this was one of my favorite. This was one of my favorite pictures because this is what the show. This is what Scott and BR was. This and Linda, of course. We cannot. There's a picture of Linda too, which we'll get to that one next. But just silly guys having a great time. Scott in the back with a terrible goatee and a hula hoop. I don't know what Alex is playing with. And Billy Ray, just with that. There's the smile. There's the fun. There's the humor. Just a bunch of big kids, man. Just a bunch of big kids, fortunate enough to still be having a good time. We used to do a show. Shout out to the Rigby family. We used to do a show, a bit on the show called The Price is Right. And I would go out and find stuff in the store, and people would and they would guess what the price was. And the fact that, people's a delusion of what things costed, even at the time, was just fun, silly stuff that you could do at that time on the radio. that entertained people, and it was hilarious. It was great. People come up to me all the time in conversation about my time on the show when it was on the radio that, hey man, some of that stuff was hilarious. The man on the street stuff, but that's how that but it was only funny because they knew how to drive the bus. This is the show. These are the people. Those are the people who you allowed in your life. Those are the people who you allowed to become part of your family. And Billy Ray was a massive part of that. So was Alex, so was Linda, and so was Scott. And this is a great picture because it was a family. It literally was a family. It always had a welcoming big brother, big sister feel to it. It was a bunch of people taking care of each other through laughs and through sport. That's what this was. I think this picture is a great example of the family that this crew built. And everything around this group started with this. And there are other people involved, Pratty and other people who produced the show before Alex got there. But this is the crew for me. For me, this is the crew, man. Over time, kids grew up listening to the show. Look at how big Fat Tony's kid is at the end of this. This is him as a baby. This is him as a grown ass man. This is how much time can pass. You can be in a person's life this long to watch their kids grow up. And Billy Ray did that through radio. Billy Ray did that through conversation and entertaining people. Friendship. At the track with Paul Vaden. Where is it? There are two more pictures because I'm not gonna show all these pictures because again, like I said, I'm not gonna be here for a long time. I just wanted to come in here and verbally pay my respects to someone who meant a lot to me. I showed y'all the first picture that I took with him. This picture is important to me as well because this picture is a great illustration of what he was like. This was the breast cancer walk that we did for Linda Welby when she was diagnosed with breast cancer. And we rallied and got in contact with the Susan G. Komen Foundation. And this group of people helped at the time raise more money that particular year than anyone else did. Because that's what the community was. That was the community that this man built. That was the community that Scott and BR built. Yeah, Tito. So Tito says BR hit some winners at the track during the live broadcast. Billy Ray would always bet on the long shot. He would always bet on the long shot horse racing. And he would win. And unlike many people, he always do the one to pick the win. Now, obviously, he didn't win every long shot because every long shot doesn't win. But every long shot that won, he picked them. And I don't know if it was a bit or it was just something that he did from personal reasons. I never talked to him about that, so it's interesting Tito remembered that. But that's the thing. A guy like Billy Ray, everybody had a memory with him. That's what made him special. Everybody had a memory with him. This is Joe Rigby and his girls who he had brought out to the Susan G. Komen Walk for Cancer. And those girls are, again, adults now. And throughout the journey, they were around the show and they got the chance to shake Billy Ray's hand. Fortunately, her arm survived. Because again, he had enough character to be able to crush my hand and gently, shake a little girl's hand. That's how much fun he was able to have in such and from meeting one person to the next. Yeah, Joe, we raised 10 grand and I think it was uh the at the time Peter Seidler matched the 10 grand and 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 made it 20. Because again, those were the relationships. That was the community that was built. That was the community that was built. Joe says the twins are 20 and Keena is 16, almost 17. Time flies, man. Time flies. This is the last picture I'm going to share. This was my last picture with him. This was my last picture with him. I had the pleasure of being at the Pro Kids First Tee organization. Howard Wright runs and sponsors. They have a dinner every year, like a gala in a sense, to help raise money for the foundation. And when it came time to raise money, when it came time to help the community, Kim and Billy Ray were always present. And he was at this time in his life, his memory wasn't the best. But he, to shock to me, he remembered me and I remembered him. And we had a massive hug because at that point in time, I hadn't seen him in like 6 or 7 months. And when you go from seeing somebody every day to not seeing them for 6 or 7 months, like there's a level of energy and embrace within that, and it was just all smiles, man. It was all smiles. It was all happiness. And like I said, that's how I choose to remember him. That's how I choose to remember him. Just like that. A big old smile. Smile so big you can't help but to smile. There are people that you meet in life, and this will be the last thing I say before I get out of here. There are people who you meet in life that when they smile, you smile. For me, he was that. When he saw you coming, he would smile and he would stick that hand out. And in turn, you would act as such. You would smile as well, and you'd shake that hand and you'd hold on for dear life. So yeah, man. Uh, this is how I will remember him. Fittingly, I am fortunate enough to have the first picture I ever took with him and the last picture I ever took with him to both be very similar with a smile. Um, we're gonna the crew, myself, Scott, Alex, we're going to organize some form of get together, a remembrance, uh, broadcast of some sort to do to do right, to do it the right way. Um, I'll have more details on that as we go forward, but obviously, you know, other things have to be taken care of before we can do that. So, thank y'all for coming and sharing in this moment with me and remembering our friend. I thank Kim and Billy Ray's daughter Savannah for sharing their father and her husband with us. And I will always remember Billy Ray just like this. Not as a football player, not as a radio host, but as a friend. A friend who could always put a smile on your face, man. Y'all take it easy. I'll see y'all tomorrow.